Boo! Did I scare you? Welcome to the series where I cover every Forsaken killer skin. My last video on this series, I forgot who it even was. I think it was Cool Kid. That was an old video. But I'm back, and I'm gonna be doing Guess 666, who I've been wanting to talk about, because I really enjoy this killer, just in old Roblox history. I don't know if they're really that unbalanced or anything right now, but I like their lore, I like everything about this beast, so I'm gonna talk about them. And oh my, am I going to yap. Feel free to skip any segment in this video, because during the Milestone segments, I talk about lore and all that stuff. If you already know this character's lore and you don't want a run through of it, just skip that part. Anyways, I usually use my gameplay for these videos, which I'm usually fine with because I can hit some crazy clips, but I also play with hitboxes off because I don't like how it can distract from the skin sometimes. It's kind of weird when you want to see something, but then a big red box covers its face every few seconds, so I play with them off just for clarity's sake, and so new viewers can see the skin in all its glory without something obscuring the skin. But for Guess 666, one of his abilities, you pretty much need hitboxes on, but I don't turn on hitboxes because, you know, I gotta keep my pride. Therefore, I pretty much miss like every time I use that ability. I mean, I hit it sometimes, but I don't know why I did this to myself. So, you know, that's the reason why I'm playing badly. It's not because I'm bad at the game. No. I'm limited by the technology of my time. Oh, also, we reached 25,000, so I look like this now. I said I was gonna do something, but then, I forgot what I was gonna do, so now I'm just like this. We hit my first milestone. I wonder if we can ever reach my second, at 50,000. I'm not gonna pressure you to do that though, because that's a long while away. But thank you so much, I really appreciate it. I really don't know what I'd be doing right now without all of you guys watching my stuff and actually, like, enjoying it. It's really sweet, so thank you. If you have any corrections, critiques, or fun facts, please comment them in the comment section down below, because sometimes I might get things wrong, or I'll breeze by some things without actually properly giving them the time they deserve. So if you have something you want to say, please say it, because sometimes I miss some things, and sometimes I just get things wrong, and it's good for viewers to scroll down and see the right information. So without further ado, let's move on to the skins. And also, if you don't know who I am, I'm a taco with sunglasses. If you've had the pleasure of playing Roblox in between 2008 and 2017, you may have played as a guest before. Back in old Roblox, you didn't really need an account to actually play Roblox. You could just go on your browser and play any game right there. But doing so would have you take one of these appearances. This was the Roblox guest feature. It allowed you to play Roblox during school hours without logging in. However, you were unable to speak to other players, and not having data saved in games while using a guest account. You also would not get the ability to pick a username for a guest. Instead, you would get a random number in between 0 and 9,999. If you were lucky, you'd get 1337, 6969, or the coveted 1. If you were unlucky, however, you could get 666. This marked you for death. Not really, as you couldn't actually get 666 because guest IDs had to be 4 digits. Still, whenever the guest system was first introduced, Guest 666 was a pretty big myth. It's obvious why. 666 is a scary number, so Guest 666 must be a scary individual. Not to mention, guests were used a lot when hacking, as they weren't tied to an account. Therefore, you couldn't get banned if you were scripting while on a guest account. Guest 666 kinda came from the same vein as John Doe, a horror icon originating from Roblox themselves, that got a lot of attention in the scaring kids market. You could probably whisper the name Guest 666 to a child back in 2015, and they'd grow gray hairs and fall over from a heart attack. However, the rumor kinda went stagnant for a bit before reawakening in 2017, once YouTuber Oblivious HD made a series of videos with their take on Guest 666. Then the rumor just died out completely once Roblox removed the guest feature in the same year, so sadly, no more Guest 666. You know, I actually played Roblox a lot during the guest period, because I simply didn't have an email. One time I actually played as Guest 6666, which is arguably cooler. Anyways, the Guest 666 myth was dead and buried for a while, until now, where they have been forsaken, as well as being put in other asymmetrical games. In Forsaken, they kinda take a more traditional Demon from Hell appearance, as well as generally playing kinda like an enraged bear. I'll talk more about Guest 666's lore whenever I cover her milestones. In the meantime, for the sake of explaining these later, I'm gonna be going over Guest's abilities. Their abilities are fairly straightforward, but they have quite the depth. Therefore, I'm gonna be breezing by them. Guest's first ability is their slash, which I usually don't talk about, but here it's different. By holding down the slash button after doing a base slash, you will do a dash slash similar to Behead, but without the helplessness. The extra slash will then go on cooldown. Her second, more traditional ability is Demonic Pursuit, which has you lunge forward in a straight line, which can also be aimed to arch so you could jump high into the air. Making contact with any survivor during this move will have you slash them multiple times before tossing them. Hitting a survivor with this will inflict them with hemorrhage, which slowly takes up their health bar, not allowing them to heal unless another survivor mends them. Their third ability is Infernal Cry, which has you shoot a projectile in front of you, giving blindness 3 to whoever you hit, as well as highlighting them. Guest 666 has a unique passive, which makes you run faster when chasing highlighted survivors. So try not to get hit by this, is what I'm trying to say. Guest 666's final ability is Blood Rush, which pretty much just highlights every survivor in this information ability. But if you fill up your blood bar all the way up, this ability changes into Blood Hunt, which is what this demon's whole kit surrounds. If you hit, kill, or use Demonic Pursuit on a survivor, they'll drop blood. And if you get enough blood, you could enter an enraged state. You ever play as the Oni in Dead by Daylight? Yeah, it's kinda like that. In this enraged state, you run faster, all your abilities become amplified, and you can't get stunned, as well as everyone's screen darkening in a blood red. And the match timer disappears to instead show this message. Cool. I honestly don't think I needed to explain his abilities, to be honest. Not much of his skins really changed them, so if you skip that part, good on you. Let's cut to what you've been waiting for, the skins, which will start out by talking about the milestones. Guest 666's first milestone covers him in some wraps, as well as making him overall darker. His face also changes to remove their mouth, as well as their eyes changing to make them look as if they're crying. The render depicts them with their hand on their head, looking to be in pain, foreshadowing the future milestone designs. So, Guest 666's character in Forsaken revolves around another character in this game, that being Noob. Both noobs and guests are pretty common duos in Roblox games. They're used to represent noob players. The only difference between them being that guests can't speak because you need an account for that, and noobs could eventually become pros, and maybe one day, a hacker. Anyways, in Forsaken, Noob and Guest 666 share a lot of lore that I will not be able to cover all of. I'll try though, just so I can show you more milestone gameplay. One of the lore drops we get in Forsaken comes from Guest's purchase quotes whenever you unlock one of her milestones. And I actually didn't want to record myself reading these because I'm a taco, I wasn't really born with the best vocal cords, so I got this VA friend that I saved from a well one time, and I cashed in that favor, so this isn't me.
I never wanted to be this monster. I couldn't stand the thought of you seeing me like this.
Judging by this quote, and future quotes, these seem to take place during Forsaken with Sixer's current mindset. Noob also has quotes whenever you unlock their milestones, so go watch my outdated Noob video for that, I guess. Milestone 2 makes Guest even darker. as well as giving her a new, more crude face. Take note of this ridging detail on their hat's brim. Anyways, the quote when unlocking this milestone being,
"Despite the pain, I began to find comfort in the pain caused by you."
So, in lore, Noob and Guest both met on a beach, where Noob found out they were talking to Guest 666. You know how I said you couldn't choose the number you got when signing in through a Guest account? Well, this Guest got pretty unlucky. Now, everyone who interacted with him believed he was an evil hacker. Noob looked past that though, and saw him for who he was, which led to them becoming good friends. Noob naming their new friend Sixer, which I'm going to call her from now on because it's simply easier. So yeah, these two, best friends, they played games together, went to parties, maybe they share scarves, I don't know, they were friends for a while, is what I'm trying to say. Remember the ridges on their hat on the last milestone? Well, now they've transformed into teeth, creating a separate head that is closing in on Sixer's face. The most prominent thing this skin adds though are these wings, as well as the cracks on their skin revealing a neon red. The skin also changes Sixer's chase theme to sound more intense. Back to lore, remember that friendship? Well, it's over now. Sixer started using exploits to cheat in games they played with Noob, to a point where Sixer relied on it. It even began to change their appearance, as well as giving them the ability to speak, however in a very raspy, demonic tone. When Noob confronted them about this, Sixer lashed out and punched them, completely ending their friendship. This is kinda weird, as Sixer didn't really need to start hacking to learn how to speak as a guest, since he really could have just joined the army, apparently, like some other guests I know. The quote when unlocking the skin being,
"You always hated me. I always hated you."
Milestone 4 fully turns Sixer into a hellhound, or maybe a hell dragon. His second mouth is fully closed, and his wings are now at their full potential, spelling out the word Roblox. The quote you get when unlocking this being,
"We meet once more, but I'm no longer afraid of who I am. The monster deep within."
The milestone quotes combined probably discuss Sixer's current mindset in Forsaken. If I had to attach meaning to these milestones, I'm assuming this is the progression of Sixer the longer the Spectre is influencing them. The Spectre is an evil entity that controls the Forsaken realm, and it's assumed they're the reason why Guest 666 turned into a beast anyways. I could talk about Guest lore way more, and I didn't do it justice at all when running through it in these milestone segments, so I really recommend you play the story. A small story game released by the Forsaken team that tells the story of these two way better than I ever could. Not to mention, you get a free noob skin if you play it, so link in the description so you can check it out. The skin you get from the story is Sixer, which is Guest 666, but not evil. This is what Guest 666 would be without the Spectre's influence. What does that mean for Sixer's killer design? No idea. I don't want to dive into headcanon territory, so I'm just gonna move on to the skins. Guest 333 turns Guest 666 into a pink silly guy, wearing a rainbow propeller hat similar to Whimsical Cool Kid, a silly face with his teeth sticking out, which weirdly looks like he has buck teeth, and his tail becomes a lollipop. So basically, Whimsical Cool Kid if he turned into a 10-foot tall beast with trust issues. 333 is also known as an angelic number, which is why he looks so friendly and silly. Guest 999 is just Guest 666, but with an inverted color scheme, similar to Blue Dude and Illumina 1X. It shows this because 999 is 666 upside down. As a bonus, this skin is a friendlier version of Guest 666, similar to Guest 333, since he's the opposite of Guest 666. Oh my god. It's Sixer, but a pumpkin. Not much to say about this skin. His head turns into a jack-o'-lantern, with the stem of the pumpkin being orange instead of green on top of his hat, and his horns, knees, and tail become fiery with veins surrounding him. Just decoration, to be honest. Not really too much to talk about with this. Toon is a part of the Toon skin series in-game. These skins have a more cartoony style, as seen from the face and the thick black lines outlining the skin. Not much about Toon, really, she just looks very goofy, and there is currently no Toon noob for this to match with. The render is a musical poster, if that means anything. Godmother is a reference to Charlotte from the anime Puella Madoka Magica. I don't know much about this anime, and rewatching it for this video was kind of out of the question for me, so take some of this information with a grain of salt. Charlotte, also known as Nagisa Momo, is a murderous doll that is centered around sweets and sugar, but this skin is actually based off Charlotte's second form. That is this big, sharp-toothed clown thing. It makes more sense with a picture of it. You see the resemblance with this Forsaken skin? Anyways, in Puella Magi, if a magic girl goes through a lot of trauma, they become a witch with incredibly strong powers. In the anime, Charlotte is one of these ultra-powerful witches, and therefore, so is this thing. I'd want to talk about more, but Puella Madoka Magica is actually significantly more messed up than I thought it was, and we don't really need to talk about that, when we could be talking about how Charlotte's snake form is also in Battle Cats, which is actually where my knowledge on this thing ends. So if I got anything wrong here, please tell me, but don't spoil this show for anyone, because the blinder you are, the better this anime will be for you. Back in early 2013, Team Friction made a Roblox game titled A Very Hungry Pikachu. The game had you placed in a small map with a very giant and hungry Pikachu tracking down the nearest player to eat them. The main source of defense was going behind these big structures, as Pikachu takes quite the time to break through them. The goal of the game was to collect coins and eventually kill Pikachu, similar to the average survivor experience in Sharkbite. The game kind of feels like something you'd find on Rec Room, to be honest. Anyways, the game got taken down in 2020 because it's Pikachu eating people, and Nintendo doesn't even allow me to show Earthbound gameplay on this channel. If we can't have Brick Bronze, then we can't have a hungry Pikachu, I guess. The gameplay you're seeing in the background comes from the remake by Epic Bread and Telex Z. Even though we can't play the original, we still got some hungry Pika representation with this Forsaken skin. And oh my is he bulky. Also, the concept design for this skin showcases a different face whenever eating a survivor, which references Pika's face when eating someone in their home game. Sadly, this isn't in Forsaken, which is sad. If any of the devs are watching this, please, I need this. Symbol turns Guest 666 into the main antagonist from the not-so-popular creepypasta Curse of the Unknown King. I tried to do the segment on my own, but it kinda just seemed like mad rambling, so I got someone else to do this segment for me, because if I did it, it would just actually be unintelligible, because I'm just so creepypasta-pilled.
And that nerd is me. Hello everybody, I am Grim, the owner of the Forsaken Wiki, and yeah, that's really much it. Taco has brought me back to record another skin explanation because I am a huge Pokemon nerd. So before I explain the creepypasta, this will be discussing some Satanist stuff. I'm not gonna really go into detail that stuff in particular since this would be like a 50-hour video. So just if you don't like that type of stuff, please just skip the segment or just go to the end where I talk about the skin itself. Unknown is a Psychic-type Pokemon released in the second generations of Pokemon games, having 28 forms resembling letters A through Z. They don't really have any lore significance since they are quite literally unknown in the Pokemon universe. Anyways, the Curse of the Unknown King has what is imagined a kid who is left home on Christmas Day because he had a cold. His parents left to visit his grandparents for Christmas as he hears a mysterious knock on his door, where he saw nobody but a package of Pokemon Silver, thinking Santa dropped it off in front of his porch, not under the Christmas tree. The Santa Claus is now Amazon. So he puts the game onto his Game Boy and reads a letter attached to the game. I don't really want to read each segment of the letter, and it's really long, so I'll just put all the steps on screen. You can pause and read them, but I'm not gonna read them, bro. So the boy completes the unknown owner's wishes for completing the Pokédex, catching the last Pokemon being Celebi, a mythical Pokemon in the games. It states that it was transferred to Pandora's box in the PC. You can probably see where this is going. He didn't mind it because you can change the name of PC boxes in Pokemon, so he continued catching the last Pokemon for the Pokédex and completed most of the game. After he followed the wishes on the letter, saying to go to Alpha Ruins and use the unknown signal, nothing really happened until 3 a.m. strike. You know, the evil number. Once 3 a.m. hits, the cry sounds of his Pokemon and the team started to play, and they disappeared one by one with the message saying, "Blank is gone," with the final message saying, "Your team sacrifice has allowed the release of the Unknown King," as the Unknown King himself appeared right in front of him. Unknown King resembles an Unknown, but with a full body besides a singular hand, and he also has spikes resembling a crown on him, also some eyes around him. That's the main part of the story. Symbol turns Guest 66 into the Unknown King himself. People think that the skin is based off the FNF mod version, but it's not, because Guest 66, you can't just give him one hand and call it a day. They had to give him two, so it's not based off that design. But he has unknown eyes around him, like on his knees, on his arms. He also has the spikes that resemble a crown on top of his head. The creepypasta isn't really that popular, but it's a really nice detail that they put into the game, and I'm very happy about it. As well as the sound effects it makes, being based off of Pokemon cries, attack sounds, and footsteps, which is a really nice touch, especially since they sound exactly like the old game versions. But that's pretty much it for Symbol. Nothing crazy about him. Thanks for not unknown. Damn it, really. Thanks to Taco for letting me record the segments and stuff. Subscribe. Yeah.
This skin themes Guest 666 around Sakura trees, kinda basing Guest around the spring season. Not much to say here, really. He's just pink and majestic. His purchase quote showcases how he was at peace before he started scripting, and now peace doesn't exist for him. This kinda correlates somewhat, as Sakura trees are meant to represent peace, as well as just calm and tranquility, which Guest 666 is none of. No way he actually went to a club like this. This skin gives Guest 666 a Rave-themed appearance, somewhat matching with Noob's party skin. With Rave, you could see Guest rock an exclusive Iron Cafe Rave Pass. The Iron Cafe being an actual Roblox game, and one that both Sixer and Noob have been to one time in lore. It's also possible that this skin references this picture of Venom, but I don't know, I'll let you decide that. You know how Guest 666's demonic pursuit ability is kinda like a long lunge? If you've played Left 4 Dead a lot, you probably got reminded of the Hunter the first time you saw it. Left 4 Dead is a multiplayer zombie shooter game by Valve that has you move from point A to point B while fighting off multiple zombies. In Left 4 Dead, there are special infected that are pretty popular in pop culture, one of them being the Hunter, who lunges and claws at you until one of your teammates pushes them off or kills them. The Hunter's scream is fairly iconic, and it plays every time he does this lunge ability. Since both Sixer and the Hunter share a pretty similar ability, it's obvious why this skin was made. It even uses the same scream Hunter makes whenever you use your lunge, as well as some other smaller sound changes. Apollyon is an original character separate from Sixer. He's still based on a guest though, just not this one. Instead, Apollyon is based around the old guest design in 2011. I actually don't think it's too much older than the guest design we know and love, as you could actually play as both of these avatars in 2016, depending on how you navigated the Roblox website back then. Either way, both guests are gone now. You could even say they're deleted content, which is what this skin is also themed around, as deleted content on Roblox always has this missing paper graphic on it, which this skin is displaying everywhere. The name Apollyon also mean different things in religious and mythological connotations, but I'm not really gonna go through all that stuff here. I just really like this skin, and you should too. It's even got a unique chase theme, titled A World Without Me, which is the same text that's in their purchase quote. I'll play a bit of the chase theme here before I move on to the next segment. So yeah, this skin is kind of like Sixer if he was the Goner kid from Undertale. Speaking of Undertale, Photoshop completely turns Guest 666 into Omega Flowey from Undertale. Undertale is a super popular indie game by Toby Fox that I really feel no need to explain. If you don't know what this is, it's just a common enemy, totally. Go play Undertale, or watch a YouTuber you like play it, because chances are, they probably have.
Okay, hi, this week I'm reviewing this game
Anyways, this skin has completely custom sound effects for pretty much every move, which all originate from Omega Flowey's boss fight in Undertale. He also has a unique chase theme, which uses the same sound font that the boss fight uses. The reason why he's called Photoshop is simply because Omega Flowey is made in Photoshop with multiple elements, rather than the traditional Undertale pixel art. This skin is honestly peak. It's no wonder why this is Guest's most expensive skin. Hell, you can even see regular Flowey in the place of what was Sixer's tail. That was my Guest video. I realize now all the skins aren't really that crazy to talk about. I mean, this character was just released, so it's not like I expected peak skins immediately, but I will say, this video is probably going to become outdated soon, because they're probably going to release some peak skins for Sixer whenever that one Halloween event thing gets unlocked, because that's probably going to be a Guest 666 skin anyways. So, yeah, rest in peace this video. Also, if you thought I was done talking about Forsaken, you're wrong. I'm done talking about Survivor skins. That means no more Veronica or things like that, because, I really wanted to split my attention with Forsaken. I'm still going to talk about it, but just way less, because there are a lot of survivors, and there are a lot of survivor skins. I'm pretty sure if I made a video covering, like, each individual character now, they'd all surpass the 1 hour mark, because just how many skins there are. I have seen some people say they were going to take up the mantle of continuing my Survivor series, so maybe you'll see it continued to some extent, but it just won't be by me. But I will still be talking about killers though, simply because I like talking about them, and there are some future killers that I just think are really cool and I'd like to play as them. My next video on this game will either be covering 1X or Slasher. I'm not covering Noli until they get their milestones, because I like talking about lore during the milestone segments, and Noli doesn't have milestones right now, so you're gonna have to wait for that. As for my John Doe and Cool Kid stuff, they have gotten a lot of new skins, but unlike Slasher, who got redesigned, I'm not gonna make new independent videos for John Doe and Cool Kid. What I do plan on doing is after I cover every killer, I'm gonna make one video just covering all the stuff I missed out on. I might have to make that a two-parter just because how much I've missed. That should be coming someday whenever Noli milestones drop. That'll be cool. Anyways, I want to thank Grim for scripting. Yeah, I didn't script a lot of this video because I was just busy doing other stuff. I still scripted most of it. We kinda tag teamed it a little bit. If you're worried about me not having my personality injected into this video as much because of that, don't worry, because Grim is actually the owner of the Forsaken wiki that I use so much. So having him script for me is kinda like I have two me's scripting. It's kinda crazy. So go check him out, I'll link his social right here. I'm probably gonna get him for more future Forsaken stuff. And also, I want to thank Stoot McCool for voicing Guest 666 for me during that one part. I really just asked in a server I was in if anyone could do that because I didn't want to use my own voice. And they did a really good job. I didn't expect them to go so hard on it, to be honest. I just asked and they said okay. And that was kind of crazy. So, thank them. I'll link their social as well. So, yeah, that's it. Subscribe if you want. I'd be kind of happy if you subscribed. Can we hit 6,666,000 subscribers? Okay, bye. Oh, also, while playing the Hungry Pikachu game to get footage for my Hungry Skin segment, I saw two people cosplaying as both Noob and Sixer, which, I thought was cute. They're kind of doing some roleplay things, I guess, there. And they're like playing any character. But, it's Sixer and Noob. And, you could call me Miguel O'Hara because I had to stick to that canon. I actually bullied the shit out of that Sixer. It was crazy. You don't have to call me a hero. I don't like being called a hero. But I ensured the canon, okay? He will turn into this, I promise. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.